Hey friends, welcome back. We are going to talk about real leadership and the kind that transforms not just organizations, but people. And today I want to talk about leading change. Why is it so hard? Why do so many change efforts stall out? And why do women so often rise to the occasion when the assignment is transformation? And here's the deal. We know change is tough. We've all lived through the new system rollout that fizzled or the big strategy shift that never really landed. But here's what I've seen time and time again. When women step into leading change, they bring something powerful. It's not just a process. It's not just vision. They bring people with them. And that's what makes change actually stick. So I want to cover with you today the natural strengths that many women bring to change leadership and the obstacles that they face when driving transformation and some real world stories of other women who have led big change. It's cool to see others around us that have done this. And last, practical tools you can use if you're carrying a change agenda right now. So I want to talk about strengths that women bring. When we talk about transformation, it's not about rearranging organizational charts or handing out new strategy binders. Change succeeds or fails based on people. Do people believe in it? Do they adopt it? Do they see themselves in the future you are describing? That's where women so often shine. One of the first strengths that I see is collaboration. Many women leaders naturally lean into the we language. They ask questions, they invite voices into the room, they make people feel part of the story, and when people feel part of it, they're a lot more likely to own it. And the second one that I see is empathy. If you think about it, when change is announced, most people's first reaction is not excitement, it's fear. So they typically ask themselves or the room, what does this mean for me? How is my role going to change? Am I going to be losing influence? Is my workload about to double? And leaders who pause long enough to hear those concerns, to name them out loud, and to care about them, those are the ones who help people cross that bridge. And the third is resilience. Change is never smooth. There are setbacks, there's delays, there's critics and skeptics, and leaders who can stay steady even when things wobble give everyone else permission to keep going. So when you combine collaboration and empathy and resilience, those three things, you get a style of change leadership that feels less like being dragged and more like being invited. So if we think about the obstacles that women can face, let's be honest, it's not all smooth sailing. Women often face extra headwinds when they lead transformation. There's the classic double standard. Push too hard and you're labeled as aggressive. Take a more collaborative approach and someone calls you soft. So it can feel like a no-win at times. And there's also the problem of invisible work. Think about all the behind the scenes things that makes change possible, that makes anything possible. Mentoring, smoothing conflicts between teams, making sure communication doesn't break down. Those things rarely show up in a quarterly report, but they're absolutely critical. And too often women are doing that heavy lifting without it being recognized. And then there's the representation pressure. If you're the only woman in the room, you know what that feels like. Every word carries extra weight. Every decision feels like you're not just speaking for yourself, but for everyone who looks like you. And that pressure can make change even heavier. And finally, a lack of sponsorship. Change leaders need champions, senior voices who clear roadblocks and fund resources. Too many women leaders still find themselves with lots of mentors giving advice, but not enough sponsors fighting for their initiatives. So yes, women bring unique strengths to change leadership, but they often do it against the tougher odds. So if we can make this real, I have some examples for you. Mary Barra at GM. She stepped into the CEO role just as GM was in a crisis, and they had recalls, lawsuits, credibility on the line. And not only did she steer through the crisis, but she doubled down on the future, boldly declaring GM would go all electric. That's not just an operational shift. That's a cultural one. It takes resilience to keep championing the future when critics are loud, and it takes empathy to carry thousands of employees through that shift. Another example is Anne Mulcahy at Xerox. When she became CEO, the company was nearly bankrupt. She could have played it safe, sold off divisions, trimmed down. Instead, she rebuilt the trust. She listened, she leveled with employees and customers, she made the tough calls, and within a few years, Xerox was back in the black. And it's a reminder that change doesn't require a miracle. It requires honesty and courage and bringing people with you. And ultimately, it takes a lot of patience and time. And then Jane Fraser at Citi, she took on the task of radically simplifying one of the most complex banks in the world. Layers of management, sprawling businesses across dozens of countries. She started cutting through that complexity. She exited some markets. She flattened the structure. And that kind of change is not glamorous. It's hard, it's messy, disruptive, but she framed it as essential, and she kept people focused on the long game. And what I love about these stories is that they're not about being the loudest or the flashiest. You've probably never heard of these names. They're about leading change in a way that's steady, people-focused, and bold. So I want to share some tools for you for leading change. If we bring this down to earth, maybe you're leading a transformation in your company right now, or even in your family, your community, your own life. What are some tools that you can use? Number one, run a listening tour. Before you roll out a big plan, spend a few weeks listening. Ask people what's working, what is broken, what they would change first if they were in charge. And then here's the kicker, circle back and tell them what you heard. Even if you can't fix everything, people feel respected when their input is acknowledged. And tool number two, make decision-making inclusive. That doesn't mean every decision gets voted on. It means that you're intentional about pulling in the right voices early. A diverse team sees risks that you won't. They'll also spread the message faster because they feel an ownership in this. And tool number three is celebrate the quick wins. Nothing builds belief like proof. Find something that you can fix in 30 days that makes people's lives easier. And you can announce it, celebrate it, show that that change is real, and quick wins are going to create momentum for the bigger lifts. And tool number four, build air cover. Don't try to do it alone. Make sure that you have got at least one senior leader championing your work and clearing roadblocks. And don't be shy about asking for it. You need that cover to protect the change and the people doing the heavy lifting. And tool number five is measure the adoption, not just the activity. Don't just track how many meetings you held or emails you sent. Track whether people are actually living differently. Are they using the new process? Are they acting on the new priorities? That's the metric that matters. And so if we pull all this together, here's the big picture. Change is hard. It's always going to be challenging. It's typically not fun. And most attempts stumble because people don't have the buy-in. And women often bring the exact strengths that are needed, the collaboration, the empathy, the resilience to make change stick. But women also face the extra headwinds, the double standards, the invisible work, the pressure, lack of sponsorship. And real leaders, like the ones I mentioned, show us that transformation is possible. It's not about being flashy. It's about being steady and honest and bold. And for you, start with listening, build inclusion, and land quick wins, secure air cover, and measure adoption. The key I want to leave with you is transformation sticks when competence and relational leadership come together. It's not just about the strategy, it's about the people. And when you bring people with you, change doesn't just happen, it lasts. So thank you for hanging out with me today. If this episode encouraged you or gave you some practical tools, share it with someone else who's leading change right now. Trust me, they'll appreciate it. And if you want to dive deeper, connect with me. I'd love to help you apply these tools in your own leadership journey. Until next time, remember, you don't have to choose between competence and connection. Bring both and you'll build change that actually sticks.